Coming up, the lead singer of one of the hardest working hard rock bands out there tells us the story of how growing up she didn't fit in with her classmates who were listening to boy bands while she was listening to Sabbath, Dio, and Alice Cooper. How she took those influences and created a multi-platinum hard rock band. That story and more is next on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you want to be a member of the Church of Rock and Roll, baptized into that fire, make sure to subscribe below right now so that you never miss out on our daily content. This is the Church of Rock and Roll here, right here, the stories of the songs from the legends. We also have a Patreon, so take a look at our content there. That helps our mission of curating this music history. We appreciate that. I love doing interviews with the greats of rock and roll. It is a dream come true, and I've never really had a bad experience. Some interviews, though, are just an absolute blast. It's like after you have a new appreciation for the artist because of their personality and their passion. Lzzy Hale of Halestorm was definitely one of those experiences. She's just straight up awesome. And she is the real deal. She has such a passion for music.
After the silence.
You can tell that she absolutely loves what she does. Coming up, she talks about how, because of her passion for metal, that she didn't really fit in. But it focused her onto creating something just tremendous. Halestorm, a band that was formed by she and her brother RJ in 1997. She learned to play the piano at just 5 years of age. She later moved to the guitar and then guitar lessons at 16. Halestorm has since become one of the biggest bands in hard rock. They've had 2 gold albums, 1 platinum single, and 2 gold singles. And up next, she tells her origin story, as well as the story of winning their first Grammy. A very cool story, how the band created their #1 rock song, Love Bites, So Do I. As we go into this interview, I do want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear, who makes this channel possible. It's very simple with Zenni. You go to zenni.com, you pick your style, your color, your shape, you design your own glasses, you try them on virtually to see exactly how you look, and then you add greater features like blue blocks or anti-glare, anti-fog. You put in your prescription, they deliver them right to your door. You're going to love these glasses. Check it out at zenni.com today. Here's Lzzy with the story. What was it for you, whether it was a song that you heard, like a person in your life, or just the moment that kicked open the door to your mind and made you want to be a performer or be a musician? What was that moment?
Well, in the beginning, I grew up in a household that was very much into rock and roll. My mom and dad's song is Panama by Van Halen. That gives you any indication. I remember around 11 years old, this was the moment that I realized I was not cool. We had just moved into a new place, this 20-acre farm in Bethel, Pennsylvania. Nothing really around, but there were a couple neighbors, and the neighborhood girls invited me to a sleepover. And they're like, well, bring your favorite CDs. We're all going to listen to music. So at the time, I was getting into rock music, and it was my dad's music. So it was what I call now the ABCDs of rock and roll. There was Alice Cooper.
Welcome to my nightmare.
Black Sabbath. I loved Cinderella for the hair metal side. And Dio. So that was what I was listening to as an 11-year-old with my dad. So I get invited to this sleepover, and I bring Alice Cooper's Love It to Death. And Ronnie James Dio's Holy Diver. Now, this is around 96, so this is when TLC was popular. Imagine the kind of things that 11-year-old girls were listening to. Grunge was dying down and the pop was coming back. Yeah. So I don't know why I liked the music, but I brought it, and I don't think we made it past the first song when they're like, let's listen to Lzzy's CDs. I don't think we made it past the first song. But I remember coming home and telling my dad that, well, it was fun, but they didn't like my music. And he said, well, that's good. And I'm like, Dad, why is that good? I don't fit in here, He's like, well, because they love that music because it's popular on the radio. But you love your music just because you love it and because it speaks to you. And at the time, I'm like, Dad, whatever, But It's funny how you can trace those things back to that is now still ingrained in me as kind of my mission statement. And in a lot of ways, I started writing songs because of that, in order to have something that I could call mine. That was something that none of my friends were doing. So, started out with, it was such a freeing time to be a teenager, especially after we started the band. I was 13 when we started Halestorm. So that gave me a whole new outlet. Oh, wow, this is what I can do with my songs. And I also grew up on Rock and Roll 101. You grow up, knowing, okay, if you're going to be a musician, you have to know how to write. You have to know how to sing. Have to know how to play. You have to know how to make a moment with an audience. And it's amazing how a lot of those things, you don't necessarily need all of those things to become, a musician anymore. But that's what we grew up, that was just our basics growing up. So in the beginning, I was writing, literally writing a song about anything. I would have a dream. We ended up making this rotating upside down drum kit for my brother. And when we first started Halestorm, out of like a tractor axle and like steel parts, and we would strap him in with Ford seat belts and let him fly. And I wrote a song called Don't Mess with the Time Man because of that, because I wanted to have a song that was like, oh, symbolism, he's going counterclockwise. Teenager, I think I was about 12, 13 when I wrote that one. And you just keep going from there. You chase whatever gets you excited. And for me, the writing aspect is so much more than a career aspect. It was, like I said, it was something that I found that I could do, that not only relieved me of any type of, teenage emotional confusion. I could figure things out if I wrote them down. And if I put the puzzle together and you find that title of a song or that mission statement of the song that purely defines what you're feeling, you get to let it go. To me, it was more of a personal journey. So
you talked about Cinderella. A lot of those, as they call them, hair metal bands of the 80s, they didn't get the credit that they deserve, like Coming Home.
They have such amazing songs. And they, had sky high hair, all this stuff, but that was very popular at the time. They were such a great live band. Something that struck me early on when we first started Halestorm, I had this VHS tape, and we had this old conversion van that we were driving to gigs back and forth, and it only took a VHS, it had a VCR player in it. So a friend of my mom's gave me this VHS compilation of all of their videos. Mm-hmm. So it was all the Night Songs videos. And they did it in this Cinderella storyline. It was cheesy, but it was awesome. They had so much live footage in there too. So I would be watching the moves and listening to these songs on the way to our first gigs. So that definitely ingrained itself in me. And
2012, Strange Case of, which another great record. Love Bites, So Do I, which went to number 2 on the rock charts, another gold single for you guys. Nominated for a Grammy.
Yeah,
and then
right?
won.
I know.
And I love the moment that you found out, when I read about it back in the day, when you found out that you were nominated.
That was in Madison, Wisconsin. And we had a show, and it was awesome. It was packed. Everybody's sweaty. And I kind of brought it down a little bit. I was going to do kind of a piano medley, just kind of bring it down the set. And our manager had texted our tour manager, who texted our our guitar tech at the time, and then told my guitar player, Joe, that we had been nominated for a Grammy. We didn't even know we were on anybody's radar. That's not even something that we were thinking about at the time. We weren't checking it out. We were just like, dude, we're doing our thing. It doesn't matter. So in the middle of the set, my guitar player, Joe, comes out and just just disrupts the whole thing and whispers in my ear like, we just got nominated for a Grammy. It's been a crazy year, hasn't it? It must have looked like somebody had died, on my face, because there's just like this look of shock, and one of the local photographers actually got that shot. So we have the moment of truth, and there was like whisperings in the audience, like, because it took me a second to kind of,
compose yourself.
Yeah, and I was like, what happened? What happened?
High five.
What happened? And so I just turned to the audience and said, we just got nominated for a Grammy, and we just got nominated for a Grammy. And you would have thought, the home team had scored, just like everything just went nuts. But it was crazy because I called up my manager afterward. I'm like, so what does this mean? Because, you joke about it as a kid. You're just like, oh, when we go to the Grammys, sure, that's ever going to happen. And he's like, well, you get to go and you're going to get invited to some parties and get to dress up and do the red carpet, and you might actually win the damn thing. And so we look at the people that essentially that we're up against, and they're all of our idols. They're all the people that literally, without these guys, Love Bites probably wouldn't exist in the way that it is, in particular, with Lamb of God. There was Megadeth.
Which Megadeth and Lamb of God were kind of influences on the song in the first place, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's interesting, the way the song came about. So we did our first cover EP. We had actually ended up doing a Skid Row song,
Slave to the Grind.
That was a tempo that we hadn't really utilized, in our original material. So, with me, I had this twist of phrase, love bites, so do I, and I thought it was funny. Kind of wrote a song and had kind of the lyrics in bulk, and like just a couple pages of whatever. And it started with that beat, like RJ being crazy. Hey, 1, 2, all right, here we go. And Joe had a riff. And we got that together, but it's so funny when, just like thinking about those things and how those little influences, those things that make you feel good when you're chasing after whatever gets you excited. Yeah. I think that's the moral of the story, because we won for best hard rock and metal performance, which for us is kind of the spearhead of those emotions. Like, you can write a great song, it can be catchy, maybe the lyrics are great, right, but if you don't believe it enough to perform it in a way that connects with somebody, then it's a lot of those things can get swept under the rug. What your girlfriend says, she reads those magazines that say you failed the when they announced our category and they're listing off the nominees and they say our name, we're all like, woo, and then they open the envelope and the Grammy goes to, we're all waiting, and they said, Love Bites, so do I. And so we're all thinking, oh, who's Love Bites? Oh, that's us, because we're expecting a hailstorm, And so it was just a mess. As you now know, I'm not shy when it comes to rambling or talking to anybody. And I was completely speechless. Thankfully, my little brother had something to say.
I gotta thank my parents, our parents, for turning us on to great music.
But it was funny because he just took off running. And then I took off running after him, and the guys are running after me because I'm in like a dress and heels. They're like, don't fall. So it was just complete chaos. But it's been amazing. One of the most amazing things about winning that Grammy is that I've gotten so many girls come up to me and say, you know what? We just didn't think that would ever even be possible with the kind of music that we love. And the fact that you won that Grammy for hard rock and metal as a girl, it kind of shows me that I can absolutely do that too. It kind of leaves the door open, like, oh, that's not so far. So that's been just the coolest thing that has come out of all of that.
Well, the song was one of the quickest recorded in the studios, is what I read. And you've talked about how the song was a little stab against the media's portrayal of love.
Absolutely. I think with it, that was kind of the initial, start of it, Love Bites, So Do I. And it was kind of the beginning of me truly embracing the empowerment aspect. Life isn't grand. There is no real Prince Charming situation going on. There is no real white picket fence. That's something that we're kind of taught. Girls in general, we are taught about all the things that we're not supposed to do. But in reality, those things, that bubble that we're supposed to be a part of doesn't really exist. And so for me, it's more like saying, hey, everything isn't okay, and that's okay. Yeah. We can live through it, and we can work through it, and the love bites, but so do I. I'm gonna freaking bite back. I love those twists of phrase. I learned that from Alice Cooper. Yeah. How you can just kind of like flip a couple things around and be like, oh, now it's a new perspective.
And it's a parentheses song. I was talking about the pop song has the parentheses. It's also, what I love about it is the Japanese all-female band. That's where they got their name, Love Bites.
It was so cool. We just played the Download Festival in Japan, first Download Festival, and found out they were going to be there. And we're like, do you want to get up and sing this with me? Welcome to the stage, Asami from Love Bites! I'm like, oh, just like you know the song? I'm like, yes, of course we know the song. And it was just awesome. When is that ever going to happen? I know. It's like we're in the same spot. A band completely on the opposite end of the world that has been inspired enough by your band to name their band after your song, and you're going to do it together. So that was a cool moment.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Isn't she awesome? Leave us a comment about this Halestorm song and Lzzy below. What are your thoughts on their music? What memories are tied to them? What other new hard rock acts should we cover on here? Who else should we interview? Let us know in the comments. Now, if you like our content, we do invite you to subscribe below and check out our other content on Patreon. Help us keep the music alive, very important. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.